Chambers of the Occult may contain content that might not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Hello.
Hello.
I
How's it
froze
going?
again.
Off to a great start.
You know
Can we
what?
say?
We can't change the classics.
It's just how things go.
Yeah. I'm
You know, like,
Jay,
I'm Kai.
and Happy New Year,
Happy New Year. This is the first episode we're recording in the new year.
2025.
First episode we're making this year. We were supposed to get an episode out last week. But I got really sick, so we had to take off a week from recording.
Yeah.
I was sick after being sick. It was this whole thing. I got my wisdom teeth out.
It was a whole journey.
It was a whole journey. It sucked, but I'm good now, and we're excited.
Yeah. We have stories, like always.
We do, like always. Wow.
2025. Who knows what we'll cover though?
Well, I think we know what we're gonna.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like year and like entire year stuff.
No, 100%.
Yeah. Nothing really new happening on my side. Full disclosure, I still need to finish packing.
Me too. I'm like halfway packed.
Okay,
maybe
that's more than me. I have everything to the side, but nothing in the suitcase.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? That's fair.
But other than that, I think the listeners want some scary stories because they're deprived.
Deprived.
Both.
Yeah, I agree. Let's get started.
Yeah. You're starting us off, right?
I am. I got a true crime case for us.
Cool. My heart was racing. I was like, we haven't discussed this. I was like, I hope that we're on the same page.
Okay, I'm glad we were, because I definitely was like, what's going on? Who's who? But I realized it should be me doing true crime.
Okay. So, yeah, you get to start the year off with murder.
Murder.
Or something. Crime, it could be anything.
Unfortunately.
Tax evasion.
Pirating a movie.
That is crime.
Technically would be true crime.
Yeah. Breaking and entering.
Did you know that breaking and entering isn't an actual crime? It's just like a Hollywood movie term.
Is it?
Yeah, breaking and entering isn't like
they actually use when it comes to it.
So it either would be like trespassing or like or like robbery or burglary.
Depending on what happens.
Yeah, depending on what happens. So I don't know. I learned that recently. I was
interesting.
Like, oh, really
you want to know what I learned recently that does not apply to us because we live in California?
What?
So multiple states have like an official drink in their state.
Okay.
Minnesota, it's milk.
Minnesota, what are you guys doing over there?
Apparently, it's also some other states like drink, but California doesn't have one.
I guess that kind of makes sense. What would be California's drink?
I was thinking it'd be like wine, but would it really be wine?
See, like in theory, it would be wine, but in spirit, it's not wine.
No, I don't think overall in California people are big wine fans, drinkers.
I think people in California like everything.
That's why we don't have a drink.
That's why we don't have one drink.
No. Fair.
Something I also learned today, more about like everything, is that India doesn't have an official language because they have so many languages. It's just.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, isn't just like a culmination of multiple?
Yeah.
And like, of course, they have like, I imagine they have like their official languages, but there's also like a lot of unofficial languages in the country.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I was just interesting to me. So.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. All right.
With those
Are we
fun
ready?
facts out of the way, share your fun fact with us.
My fun fact is that I need some water, right?
Sorry, my Siri just went off.
Is your,
I
is
don't
your
know if
Siri an Indian man?
anyone heard that or not. No, it's just a man's voice. Um, and I said that it scared me, and it just replied, "It's okay."
Oh, yeah,
No.
very comforting, Siri. Thank you.
I don't know if you guys heard it or not, but if yours went off, I'm sorry as well.
All right. So, I'm starting off 2025 right with a question.
Ah.
Because that's kind of turned into like one of our things, like
Yeah, we like
which
ask
is
a question that
yeah,
sets the scene, I would say.
yeah. All right. Well, my question to you is, have you ever had to call the cops or been in a situation where the cops showed up?
Um, I've been in a situation where someone called the cops. I'm not sure if it
Okay.
was me or not. I mean, um, at some years back, when I was like years back, my dad got like a heart attack, and like we called for
Oh,
help.
okay.
So like we called 911.
Got it.
Firemen showed up first, of course,
Yeah.
because we live 2 blocks away from the firehouse.
Oh, okay. So they were right there.
They were right
Yeah.
there. But there was one time when I did call 911. I was driving home from work, and it was a day that it was raining, and I was just
Mm.
going my I drive speed limit because
Yes, you do.
anyway, and then some car got impatient behind me and decided to cut me, like just pass me, and I was like, okay, cool, like I'm not gonna speed up, I'm not gonna slow
Yeah.
down. I was like,
Yeah.
you clearly you're in a hurry. It was raining, and because it tried to just like cut me off and
Oh
like merge,
man.
it hit
Yeah.
the divider and then like spun, and then
Fuck.
yeah, it was raining. Like people are crazy when it rains. They don't know how to drive in California.
They
Um,
don't.
my car was fine other than a few scratches here and there, but like immediately, like I called like 911, and I was like, hey, I was like, I just witnessed an accident. I was like,
Yeah.
it's here. Um,
Yeah.
but that's about it. How about
Okay.
yourself? Have you ever had
All
to call
right.
911?
No, thankfully I have
Okay.
not. Um Actually, uh when was it? Last week? Was it last week? Yeah, something like that. I actually
So,
went on a ride along with
oh,
with the police department around
really?
here. Not gonna say the exact name, but
No, that's cool though.
my city's police department.
Yeah.
Um it was really fun. I was with the officer for like 4 hours.
Wow.
And that was really cool. I don't know, we
I
were
mean, I'm
dealing with a
assuming
lot of
that
like
because it was just
theft.
like a ride along, it wasn't really like an emergency. It was just
No, definitely not.
something related to something you were doing at some point.
Definitely not. Yeah, but it was really fun. Anyway, that was related, but it's not related at all.
Yeah, yeah,
Continue on with my case. Um, well, like, why do most people call the cops, right?
yeah,
Because they need help.
yeah. There's a
You call
variety
them
of them.
because you need help or something like that. But a lot of times it's because they need some type of assistance.
Yeah,
We're sometimes taught that police are there to help.
yeah,
That when we're in need, we can rely on them to answer our call. That their duty to protect and serve trumps over all. Like
yeah,
they are there. Uh, at least that's what we hope, right?
yeah. I mean, I think I
um,
want to say that's what the majority of the public is aware of.
yeah,
I don't know if I'm putting too much hope in public,
yeah.
but I would say the
I don't
majority
know.
of the people know that.
Yeah, like we hope that the police are going to be there and protect us, but
Hmm.
it's not always the case, as proved in many different situations that have happened over the past several years.
Yeah,
Lots of controversies with the police, but we won't get into that right now.
I feel like, yeah. Anyway, we won't get into that. Yeah, go ahead.
But how would you feel if you needed the police and they didn't show up? Or even worse, they
Oh,
repeatedly blew you off because your problem was deemed not a priority or something like that,
oh, that'd make me upset.
right? At the least.
And I don't know, because it's involving, like, the cops, I don't know if I would be like, "I need to talk to a manager," I'd be or, like, "I need to file, like, a complaint report or something." Um, I think I just coulda just, like, kinda lose hope.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely, doesn't mean everywhere, probably just, like, this department that, like, didn't respond.
Mhm. But still,
Um,
it would leave a very bad taste in your mouth,
yeah,
right? Like, it
yeah.
just would not be okay.
The other
Yeah.
time sorry, real quick, that the cops had to be called was 3 years ago at work at night,
Oh,
um, and they didn't show up. Well, they did show up, but I was already gone by then
okay.
because my manager was like, "You're still on the clock, we have to send you home." Um, and then probably, like, 20 minutes after they left, I left, they showed up, but
Gotcha.
I haven't really had to deal with them, um, or not with them apparently to this story.
Yeah, I guess.
Um,
Okay. Interesting. So you've had a couple experiences. Cool, I
yeah,
guess.
or lacking
Like
experiences.
learning experiences.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, well, I guess in this vein of lacking the police in a way. Um, when the police didn't help her when she needed them the most, Lauren McCluskey experienced exactly what all of that was like. All of the anger, the fear, the distrust, and
yeah.
she felt that to such a worse degree. And unfortunately,
There was an
Lauren
emergency.
would suffer the worst fate imaginable because of it.
Yeah.
So, Lauren McCluskey, she was a 21-year-old girl, a model student at the University of Utah. Um, she was bright, active, engaged with the community. Um, she was quite accomplished for her age, actually. She was a track and field star. She
Ah,
actually was on scholarship for track
okay.
at the university. So
Yeah.
she had things
She
going
was
for her.
an athlete that yeah, yeah.
Yeah. She had been running since she was a kid. She became involved in her first track meet when she was 8 years old. So, she started young.
Oh,
Her parents got
wow.
her involved. Um, McCluskey was born on February 12th, 1997 in Berkeley, California,
Okay.
to parents Matt and Jill McCluskey. Um, for most of her life, though, she did live in Washington State. She moved there pretty early on because her parents, they both got professor positions at the Washington State University there. So
Okay.
they moved, and that's where she grew
Got it.
up. Yeah, a little bit of backstory on her, and all that to say that she had everything going for her. A beautiful, accomplished life until she didn't.
Oh. I
September.
know we're covering true crime, and you just, like, share this, like, big happy story, and then you're like, "Until it wasn't." And I was just like,
Mm,
"Oh, that's right.
it's the
We're doing
classic, right?
this."
It's like it's almost the cliche of being like things were great until they weren't.
Yeah. Fire Nation attacks, and then hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
September 2nd, 2018. Lauren McCluskey meets a man named Melvin Sean Rowland at a local bar there in Utah. It was a popular one. Um, he's the bouncer. They hit it off and they eventually begin a relationship, with Roland often coming to McCluskey's dorm and even getting to know other people who lived there, like in the building at the school.
Mhm.
Um, they really start to build up this relationship. They get comfortable. Um, I mean, at least as much as you can in a month, right? Um, so,
Some people can get very comfortable in a month.
oh yes, trust me, I
Even
know.
less. Yeah.
It's the start of September, right?
Yeah.
So they meet. London Bell is what the bar was called. So they
Okay.
go. Um, Now Roland starts to do more things with her. They hang out more. Um, they go to a gun range to go shooting,
Mm,
with some of Roland's friends as well. Um,
okay.
that's still September. The month continues to go on, but then McCluskey's friends start to get a little bit. worried. Um,
Oh, okay.
she doesn't really seem like herself anymore. You know, her appearance begins to change just a little bit. And apparently, Roland told McCluskey that she was not allowed to hang out with her friend. Um,
Okay. I see where this is going.
yeah. So these friends, they're concerned. They reach out to some staff at the university. They explain the situation. They're scared their friend Lauren is getting taken advantage of or controlled by this guy Roland. He was often there. He often had guns, and they were just worried about safety.
Mhm.
Um, that report gets made. Nothing comes of it. You know, the campus, they don't really see too much of a problem just yet. And it isn't a problem just yet. This is the end of September. Now it's October 9th. And October
Okay.
9th kind of changes everything. The world gets turned upside down, not literally, but McCluskey learns that Roland isn't exactly who he says he is. He's been lying about his age. He's
Of
actually about
course.
10 years older than what he said
Oh,
he was. He's
that's
also
a
been lying about the
huge
fact that he's a registered sex offender and that he did serve time in jail for other crimes,
Wait,
assaults, sex
so he
crimes.
told her that he was a registered sex offender?
No, he did not tell her that.
Okay, got it. That was the lie, that he didn't
He
disclose
did
that
not tell her
information.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, McCluskey learns all of this through social media, through other people, but she gets this crazy information. So
Yeah.
she invites Roland over to her apartment to confront him.
Uh, no. Okay.
Now, at first, actually, nothing really happens. McCluskey confronts him. He denies the age difference, but he does admit to being a registered sex offender.
Okay.
Um, the conversation continues. Nothing really happens. Roland actually stays the night at her dorm, which is stupid. What are you doing, girl? Why are you letting him?
Also, there's a real simple way to figure out if he's lying about his age. Show me your driver's license.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he had it
Had
on him,
one?
but you
Fair.
know,
Okay.
whatever. Which is crazy if he didn't have a driver's license.
Especially if he was
Be
10 years older than what he said he was.
Yeah.
He has to have some
Um
sort of ID.
yeah. No, it's because the next day, October 10th, he actually borrows McCluskey's car to run errands.
So he has to have a
So
license.
he I guess so. I don't know, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully.
um McCluskey is fine, but she tells her parents what happened. Jill, her mother, reaches out to campus security, campus police dispatch. They tell her, Jill says that she's worried for her daughter's safety, that, there's this vehicle that this guy is borrowing from her. So, university dispatch reaches out to Lauren and asks if she needs any assistance, being escorted to go pick up the vehicle or anything like that.
Okay.
Um, Lauren McCluskey, she eventually at first declines any assistance from the university because Roland was just going to drop off the car at the parking lot. She was going to go pick it up.
Okay.
But later, McCluskey does actually request a transport from security to help her just get a ride over to the car to go pick it up because it was kind of
Okay.
far. It's in one of the far parking lots of the
Got it.
university.
So it's a bit of a walk in. It'd
Hmm.
just be safer and easier.
Yeah. Now, this happened from campus security, not campus police.
Yeah.
And
I did catch that detail.
that becomes important because the police and the security use two different information systems.
Oh.
Um, and you'll
This
see
already
why
seems
that
like an
comes
issue.
into play a little bit later on. Yeah.
Okay.
So now it's October 10th. The drop off happens. McCluskey gets her car back, and everything seems fine for the rest of the day. for the next day. It seems fine as well. The next day after that, though, October 12th, things aren't really as fine. McCluskey starts to get texts,
From
suspicious messages from somebody
oh,
unnamed.
okay.
Roland's friends is what she believes. Um, actually, we're saying kind of crazy things. Roland was dead and you killed him.
What?
Stuff like that. Um, McCluskey knew this wasn't true because why the hell would it be? Um, but she went through his social media roll-ins, found out, yeah, he's still alive. What is going on? So now McCluskey reaches out to campus police because, okay, she needs to report these messages.
Yeah.
The police tell her, just stay at your house. Don't fall for these texts, which, of course, is what she was already going to do.
Okay, okay, yeah, I don't know where my brain is going. Go ahead.
They move on. The rest of the day goes by. Next day, October 13th, she contacts the police again because this time she's getting more messages.
Mhm.
This time the messages are worse.
Oh, no.
She's being blackmailed
With what?
with some private photos
Got it.
that she had sent
Which
to Roland.
is this Roland texting her?
At this point, they're not entirely sure. Of course, it likely is him, but it's, spoofed numbers,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Um, so the person texting demands $1,000 to keep the photos private, or else they're going to release them.
She's a
Side note:
college student on a
only
scholarship.
$1,000 doesn't really seem like that much of like a ransom type of thing. Anyway,
Yeah. Uh, I don't wanna comment on it because it
yeah,
involves
fair. I
just
mean,
yeah,
it's terrible. It really is.
yeah.
Um,
Also, I don't know. I feel like I mean, I'm glad that nowadays there's more laws against this, but I don't know which ones that were in place in 2018.
yeah, I don't know. So she contacts police, and at this point, they're forced to investigate. It
Mhm.
is something criminal, illegal
Yeah.
that's happening. There's money, private pictures involved. Officer Miguel Darris of the University Police Department is the primary investigating officer um, that McCluskey speaks to. And she talks with Officer Darris for the next few days. Um, Text, phone, in person. Um, they don't really get many places, so McCluskey reaches out to the Salt Lake City Police Department, but they tell her, yeah, you need to go through your university police. So there's already this back and forth of her not getting the exact help that she need.
And
Um,
that's one of the things I've heard in the past, and it kind of really upsets me. You try to go to the proper channels, and then nothing gets done. And then you reach to
exactly,
like the local police department. They're like, you have to use your school one. And it's like, I did. Nothing happened.
exactly. Now, this is where the way I start this story really starts to blend in.
Okay.
Officer incompetence, officer corruption in a way, because they're
Oh.
not they're not helping her as best as they can.
Uh huh.
Now, it's going to be a running theme you're going to notice as I go further in that the police really did not handle this case the best.
Okay.
They took the police report. The chief of the university police took the police report. They pulled Roland's criminal history, but for some reason they didn't think to check if he was on parole at all.
Oh, was
Um,
he also on parole?
he was on parole, but the university police didn't know that, which also would have meant that it was illegal for him to have been holding guns and going to the shooting range, like I mentioned that they did,
Oh, you
which means it
did.
would be illegal for him to have a social media presence, which he did. But you know what? Didn't matter. The police didn't know about it, and I guess that's on them.
I also find it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how pulling up the records of a student would work, but I don't know if it will also say that he was a registered sex offender or not.
They did find out he was a registered sex offender. You know,
Okay.
they did receive all that. It's just I think it's a different database to check if someone's on parole.
Fair.
That
Yeah.
it I feel like that info should just come up naturally.
No, fair. Yeah.
Anyway, um, Officer Darris, the primary officer on McCluskey's case, um, sometime after talking to her, there were actually reports that, first of all, let me back up a little. Since he was investigating, he received evidence. And of course, the evidence that he was going to receive were those private images of McCluskey. There are actually some um, accounts that Officer Darris, he actually was just going around to other officers and just
Showing.
showing them the pictures. He was honestly bragging about how he was able to have them and look at them.
Yeah, because he had
Um,
this quote unquote evidence. Yeah.
yes, yeah. And
That's
so
sick.
this was found out in a report, an independent report, a state investigation that happened on the University Police Department
Oh,
because they were extensively investigated after this
got it.
happened.
Okay.
Yeah, so this goes on even further. The formal investigation of the blackmail, the extortion charges begins. A detective from the university police actually is then transferred over onto this case. She contacts McCluskey to get more info. Um, but for a while, things just kind of go unnoticed. They
Hmm.
fly under. The police don't do a great job. All the while, McCluskey, Lauren, is still dealing with harassment by
This
Roland,
unknown
supposedly,
number. Yeah.
by this unknown number. She continues to receive text messages, um, emails, and uh, other instances. Um, there's actually security footage from the following days, towards mid to late October, that actually
Yeah.
show Roland showing up on campus numerous times. Apparently, believe of course, to have been looking for McCluskey,
Okay.
trying to find her. So she is dealing with this, yet the police continue to not really take her seriously. They're more interested in the extortion, just the actual
Yeah,
investigation
but at the
itself.
same time, I don't know. I would want to keep closer tabs on this person because they're trying to extort her. She's not giving in. She's not giving them the money. So what's the next move?
Yeah, I don't know. So the detective that was assigned to the case, her name was Kayla Dalloff. Kayla was the primary on her case at that point. There was literally nothing from October 16th around there, throughout the next week or so. There
Okay.
really wasn't much that happened. Um,
And do you mean like because there was like no records or just because they didn't do anything or because
because
they
the
just didn't?
detective was on vacation. Yeah.
How how do you assign someone that's in vacation for an active case?
No clue. Um, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. It's October 19th at this point. It has been um 6 days since this all started, since the
Okay.
report, since her being extorted, blackmailed. um McCluskey is frustrated. So on the evening of October 19th, she reaches back out to Salt Lake City Police Department. Um she's concerned, she's frustrated, the university campus police is not doing their job. Salt Lake City says, "Sorry, we can't do anything. You got to go back to your campus police."
Got
That's
it.
when she tries to call the detective. The detective calls her back. "Sorry, I'm not going to be back in the office until October 23rd. Nothing I can do."
Uh at this point, I'm angry for her.
Yeah, yeah.
I go to the station at the campus and demand to get someone assigned that is not on vacation.
Seriously, she at least tried to. She sent emails, multiple emails. She even sent screenshots to the university department,
Yeah.
literally showing
The
Roland's criminal
incompetence.
history
Oh, okay.
and all of that, just pushing them to get some help.
My
Um,
god.
all
Sorry,
the
as I'm
while,
thinking
of
of all
course, she's
this, I
still
was like,
dealing
TikTok
with
would
it.
have had a field day if she, like, put this information out there. It's like, "My school's not doing anything about this, put them on blast."
She should have. She should have, but
Yeah.
I don't know,
I
man.
mean,
This whole
2018,
yeah,
I think the closest thing we had was YouTube.
yeah. So that was October 19th that she calls. The next couple of days, she's still dealing with texts, and in these couple of days is when eventually that security footage is recovered, and it shows Roland showing up on campus, over
Okay.
that weekend trying to look for her.
So I'm assuming that the texts that she was getting were daily.
Yes,
Okay.
it was harassment, constant
Mhm.
harassment, um, that she couldn't do anything about. She was relying solely on the police who were not there to help her.
Yeah. Did
So we
she
get
I don't know if
Go
you
ahead.
have the details, but, like, did she try blocking the number? And then she would
It
get a
was
text from a
from
different number? I don't know how it
I
worked.
likely I don't have the full details of it,
Okay.
but I'm sure if she ever I'm sure they just kept getting new numbers,
Fair.
new
Okay.
spoofs and whatnot. Um, October 22nd comes around. It is 10:39 in the morning. That is when McCluskey receives a different text from a supposed Deputy Chief Rick McLennan of the university campus police, requesting that she comes to the police station to meet.
Okay.
She shows them that, but the university police, yeah, of course, they believe that that came from Roland. It was a ploy to try to get her to leave her dorm so that he could come find her.
Yeah.
Now,
And at that point, he's, like, trying to I don't know what the laws were, but, like, imitating, like, an official officer? Like, I don't know.
yeah, oh yeah, it's a felony. Yeah, impersonating an
Yeah. Yeah,
officer. It's
impersonating, that's the word, yeah.
yeah. Some of the day goes by. Lauren's still in her apartment. Now, it gets to about 3 p.m., October 22nd still. Roland shows up on campus. He spends that afternoon just waiting for Lauren, for McCluskey to be seen at university.
Is he just, like, walking around or, like, chilling in areas hoping to see
He's
her,
just
like,
at the
knowing her
residence hall.
routine?
He's at the
Oh.
building just
So he's
waiting
not
for
a
her.
student, right?
No.
Huh.
He's a student at a different college,
Mhm.
near Utah or in Utah, but no, not at the same one.
Okay.
Still October 22nd. Now it's 8:20 p.m. Roland finally confronts Lauren. She is in a parking lot, outside of her residence hall. She's on the phone with her mom. But while she's on the phone with her mother hears commotion, screaming, yelling. Her
Yeah.
mother, Jill, hears the phone drop, everything drop. Her mother hears Lauren being dragged across the parking
No.
lot. Now, Jill is alarmed. Her mom is alarmed.
Yeah.
8:23 p.m., 3 minutes later, University Dispatch gets a call from Matt, Lauren's father.
Okay.
My daughter is in trouble.
Mhm.
She needs help. He relays what happened, what they heard over the phone. The officers respond. 10 minutes later, 9 minutes later, 8:32, um, that's when police respond. They go to the parking lot. They find Lauren's belongings that had fallen on the floor. They begin a search. They search her dorm. They search the surrounding area. They eventually um, they check security footage. Eventually, they realize Roland had been taken off, but they keep searching. 8:30, 8:40, 8:50, 9 o'clock, 9:15,
Oof.
9:30, 9:55. is when they discover the body of Lauren McCluskey in the back seat of a car.
Okay.
It's in the parking lot that they had been searching.
No.
Yeah, it's the car parked in one of the campus parking lots. Lauren was dragged across the lot. She was forced into the back seat of Roland's car, and he shot her multiple times. Campus was in a frenzy. Police were doing the best they could to control the chaos. A secure in
Oh,
place was put um, onto the campus because they didn't know if Roland was still there.
yeah, of course.
Um,
A man
there
with a
were
gun.
updates sent every half an hour to re-update the secure in place order.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't eventually until about 11:45 p.m. when the secure in place order was lifted, because they did have, they did determine that Roland had left the campus.
Left. Okay.
Yeah. The alert was sent out. Everybody's looking at this point. It's past midnight. Um, Salt Lake City police, they discover him about 12:45 in the morning. There's a foot pursuit. Um, this foot pursuit leads the police and Roland into Trinity AME Church. It's a church in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
And as the police enter the building, Roland shoots himself.
I have
So,
so many things I want to yell at that man. And at the police as well, but
mhm.
mostly the police.
And that's the overarching story of this case. Is that if the police did their job, she might still be alive.
Yeah. Yeah, if they took things a little bit more serious, if they, yeah, not a little, if they just took it serious. I'm already thinking the whole assigning someone that's not even working, that's on vacation, that's already like a big red flag.
if if the police didn't, there were so many steps, so many ways they dropped the ball. If they investigated properly, if they took her seriously, if they took the time to figure out that he was on parole, they could have alerted the parole officers, and the parole officers could have easily taken him in and stopped all of this.
Because they know his address.
Exactly. There
Do you
was
know?
so much wrong.
I don't know. I don't know how much information is out there, but like, do you have those texts that she was receiving?
No, I don't have those exact
Okay, no,
texts.
that's fair.
I
That's
don't think
fine.
they were ever released.
Okay, because I
Yeah.
can just imagine how it went from bad to worse, and it just kept getting worse.
Yeah. No, it did. Um, Now, the very next day, October 23rd, classes are canceled. Everyone's mourning. 24th, there's a vigil that's held. The 25th is when uh, the governor of Utah, he actually orders an investigation into how all of the police handled the case,
Or,
um,
didn't handle.
or didn't handle. Yeah. And from this point on, still to this day, there has been so much call for change and reform and support to make sure something like this never happens again. There have been laws passed, bills passed. Um, Her parents, Jill and Matt, have sued the university, um, actually on two separate occasions,
As I should have. I
essentially
would have
to
too.
fail to keep Lauren safe. Yeah. Um, and to this day, they're still trying to spread awareness. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's so unfortunate that there's so many times where the police wait and they keep waiting because they're like, they haven't acted on anything. These are just messages, or it's just the way you feel, or it's something you saw, but like they wait and it's always too late.
It is. It is. Um, Eventually, there were, some of the 911 calls between Lauren, her mom Jill, and the police that were
Yeah.
released. And there's record. It shows these 911 calls were going back 2 weeks before Lauren was murdered.
Yeah.
There was 2 weeks of requests for assistance, for help, to be seen, that the police just did nothing about. Um,
Did anyone get fired?
so the chief of police, he resigned.
Okay.
Um, the officer, what was his name? Bitch ass officer Miguel Darris, who was
Hmm.
bragging about having her nudes. He was fired.
Good.
But he's
Good.
currently employed at another police department.
Okay. Well,
Um,
it is what it is, but
yeah. Um, Just a terrible situation overall. There's
do you know? So, was she murdered before the person that was assigned to her case came back from vacation?
yes,
Okay, see, that's the thing that I find the most disturbing because like, the person was gone for what, 1 week on vacation or something like that?
like 5-ish days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
something
in
like that.
5 days, the person that you got assigned, you come back and you find out that they're dead. And I'm not putting any fault on that person that was on vacation, but definitely whoever assigned her to that
Like, just
case.
why? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. When I was reading about this, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, why did this have to happen this
Mhm.
way? Um, and so there's so much that's happened. Eventually, the university, they did do a lot of things to honor McCluskey. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you have 2 lawsuits, you better do something.
Yeah, I mean, they built a new indoor track field, and they named it in honor
Okay.
of McCluskey. They,
Mhm.
um, did some other things, and um, now there currently is the Lauren McCluskey Foundation. Um,
Okay.
it um, it's here to, well, honor the life and spirit of Lauren McCluskey, but also to help empower change, to help young women stay safe from physical violence, especially with intimate partners. It offers resources, lessons, and it's really just a way to remember what happened to McCluskey and make sure it never happens again.
Good. Good. Yeah, unfortunately, it takes something like this to happen for change to start.
It does.
And it applies to everything, everything. Like, something has to go wrong in order for something to change.
Why does it feel like so many things are like that? That's the way so many things are,
I
and
mean, you can look at any law that we have on the books, and it was written because something happened for that law
right?
to be
Yeah.
written.
Like,
Yeah.
something had to have happened for it to be thought of to
Yeah, of course. And it's I don't think it's very uncommon for just the security and like police department from the campus to not be reliable. I think it's more
Yeah.
common than we like to admit.
There was more that happened. So the Department of Corrections, and the Division of Parole and Probation, they actually revealed that a parole agent had spoken to Roland on October 16th, which was
Oh.
3 days after, um, 3 days after the extortion texts began.
Yeah.
Um, but of course, the Department of Corrections, they had no idea any of this was happening because the university police failed to report it. They failed
Mhm.
to find anything. They failed to share any information. Um, and the police were previously unaware that there was even a problem with Roland before these text messages because the people who dealt
Mm.
with it beforehand was the campus security. Remember, not
And you
the
said
police.
they're not in the same system, so they don't
Exactly.
when they pull something up on him, it's just their thing, not the other ones. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that
Okay.
is one of the first changes that they made. They
I
now have a
think that's
system
still
where
a relatively large like thing that happens. Um or at least some places are trying to be better at it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, and so that's one of the first changes they made. They made a fully integrated system. It's all in one place now.
good.
Um, yeah. So they actually did more research and more of Roland's violent past was uncovered because of it.
Mhm.
Um, in 2004, he did attempt sexual assault on a teenage girl. Um, in 2012, he had a parole hearing. He admitted to raping that girl and two other women as well. Um, and in 2016, there were admissions of violence and violence targeted toward um, police, law enforcement officers.
Did they have a psychological profile on him or anything like that?
Well, they really didn't pay much attention to this guy.
Wow.
So,
It's
yeah.
it feels recent because it
I
has
mean,
been like recent.
2018. I mean,
7
it's
years ago.
7 years ago. Wow. But it feels more recent than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that is the unfortunate murder of Lauren McCluskey. And that could have entirely been avoidable
Yeah.
if
Thank you.
better precautions were taken.
I mean, it is a good story. The reason I'm saying that it's because it's January. A lot of people are back to school. Be careful out there. It's
Hmm.
supposed campus is supposed to be feel safe, and if it
Yeah.
doesn't, talk to someone.
Be careful. And I know I just did a whole story about, how the police did not help. But if you are feeling endangered, call the police. Like, let
Yeah,
them know. Like,
this is one case. It does not speak for everyone.
yes.
Yeah,
Like, they will do what they can to help you, and if they don't, fuck them and keep on bugging them until they help you.
yeah, yeah. I agree with that. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Thank
Anyway,
you.
um, yeah, take care, stay safe, guys. Yeah. What you
Wow.
got, Jay?
Um, I don't know if it's better or worse. Not content wise, but just like mine is not recent, like at all.
Okay.
Um, so this is I'll share it with you at some point through this because there are pages and pages and pages of information, and yet it's a complete mystery. So, for today's story, we're going to tackle just, like I said, a mystery from the Victorian England.
Okay.
So, we're heading back in time, not 7 years. We're heading back in time 170 years.
107 years. That
Uh,
is that is uh nine
1855. Not 107, 170 years.
Oh, okay. 1855. Oh,
1855.
got it.
I don't know if we've covered a story in the past that goes this far behind.
I don't think we have.
Um, but yeah.
Maybe the
So
Bell Witch.
I don't think
I don't
so.
know.
Um, I was even thinking like the Dancing Plague, that was even more recent than 1855. Maybe not. Maybe it's around that.
Okay, well, actually, the Bell Witch was a little bit earlier.
Wait, when was it?
1817.
Oh, that is a lot more recent. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, 1855 is still
Yeah.
very
So we're
old.
going back to
I'm gonna one up
1855
you. Yeah.
overseas. We're going to the quiet countryside of Devon, England.
Okay.
And I looked at the map because I was like, "Where the hell is Devon, England?" It's southeast. It's towards the southeast. It's just
Okay.
like a countryside. It's like a region. Um, so what I find fascinating about this case is that it just throws us back into the mindset that people had in 1855. Like 170 years ago, like their knowledge and science was completely different. Superstition was probably like superseding science at the
Yeah.
time. Yeah. So like I can only imagine what people thought, what people felt, how people interpreted things. Um, but like you did, before we delve into this story, let me ask you a question. Um, have you ever followed footprints of any
Yeah.
kind, like
Yeah.
animal or like person?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Care to elaborate? Was it a person you were following? Was it an
Um,
animal?
I have followed animal footsteps just to
Okay.
figure out like where something went, just like,
Fair.
a little investigation. I've followed human footsteps because um well at work, honestly, most recently,
It's
because
what I
sometimes
figured.
there'll be like footsteps going like off the trail to like an
Yeah.
area or something, and I'll like walk over and be like, "Oh, did somebody walk over there?"
Uh-huh.
But yeah,
No, fair.
nothing too crazy.
I was researching this and I was thinking of questions. I was like, this is most likely going to be like a yes for you.
Yeah.
So we're going to a snowy winter in February of 1855.
Okay.
Um, and it was one of the coldest winters they've had in record at the time. I read that it was like 1 degree cooler than the year before, which I was like, okay, it's still cold.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and across like Devon County, just like winter came over, a storm.
Mhm.
Everyone just stayed inside. No one went out. Um, so what ends up happening is that people wake up in the morning and they look out their windows or like they go outside and they find some very interesting prints on the snow. And we'll get into
Okay.
that.
Okay.
We'll get
I'm like,
into
what do
that.
they look like?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, I have like
Yeah.
sketches and things like that. I have a lot.
Okay.
Um, so before we get too far into it and like the theories and like explanations of what this footprints belong to, I'm like just like 170 years ago. How do we know so much about this? There's so many eyewitness accounts for this. Eyewitness
Really?
accounts, newspaper articles from the time, personal letters. Um, few newspapers covered this as well. And 170 years ago, people had different hobbies. They were bored. Um, there was a reverend who became completely obsessed with documenting the details of this.
That,
Um,
that's so funny.
yeah.
Okay, thanks, Reverend.
Yeah, no,
Um,
he's definitely part of the reason that we have so much stuff. There's, of course, nowadays, there's also like modern blog posts to like see if we can make sense of any of this. Um, but before we go into like full ghost hunting mode, like let's get the facts straight. First off, I'm going to tell you the name of the case. This is known as the devil footprints
okay.
or the devil hoofs.
The devil hoofs. I like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's kind of fun.
it has a nice ring to it.
It does.
So it all started in February 8th of 1855. Heavy snowstorm had just blanketed the whole region. People woke up and they found this strange tracks just covering a vast area. And I mean vast. The reason we're not focusing on a specific town, it's because this tracks, depending on the records and depending from where you get them, the tracks varied from 40 miles to 100 miles of distance between
Okay.
villages at the time. A lot of ground to cover, especially during the winter, during a winter storm. So, like you said, what did the tracks look like? Anything
Please, I
special
need to
about
know.
them? Because they showed up everywhere. So this hoof prints, this devil tracks, um, everyone agrees on few details. Everyone agrees that they're weird, There's a little bit of agreement on what they look like because from village to village, there was some consistency of the strangeness of the tracks, but some sketched them out differently.
Okay.
But let me share with you why just random tracks became such a big deal 170 years ago. People found them in their gardens.
Mhm.
Cool. Crossing fields.
Okay.
Crossing a frozen river without breaking the ice.
Okay.
And then they found them up walls.
Okay.
People found them on top of snow covered roofs, high walls, a-
Okay.
and like even leading in and out of a drain pipe.
Like a small
Like a
drain pipe?
drain
Like
pipe. I imagine, yeah.
okay.
I'm not sure the size of the drain pipe, but yeah. So it was almost as if whatever made this tracks could just like defy gravity and just like get
Like
on your roof.
shapeshift and like
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Weird. Okay.
So they were described as resembling donkey hoof prints that they were about 4 inches long and 3 inches wide.
Okay.
But here's what it gets really interesting because unlike usual animal tracks, which alternate between like left and right,
Yeah.
this one's appeared to be in single file line, as if whatever made them was hopping or walking with its feet in perfect line.
Dude,
Bipedal.
what?
Not like a four-legged creature, like it was bipedal.
Okay.
So there's still aspects that like through theories and like history, like we're trying to explain it naturally. For example, there's the sharpness of the prints themselves. You woke up and it's like they were still fresh. Like the snow really haven't covered them. Even the snow, like they were just described, quote, clearly defined, branded with hot iron. Like it was just left there. Um, like they defiled the natural kind of melting and freezing that you'd expect. And there's this distinct lack of, animal tracks nearby or any
Mm.
signs of disturbance.
Yeah.
It's not like you saw this tracks and then next there was like bird tracks or like mice or anything else. It
Like
was
that was it.
just that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Everything else was like hiding from the cold. It's almost like whatever touched them just like touched down, imprinted, and then just like vanished.
Yeah.
Because some records say that they went straight through walls. That some people found them at like their front door, like they stopped there, and then if they were to continue to walking straight, they continued through the back door and just kept going.
Weird.
Yes. So the newspaper at the time, like I mentioned, the Times and the Illustrated London News, this became news because 170 years ago, cold winter storm,
Well,
we have nothing
yeah.
better to report. Also,
Of
this is
course it's
weird.
gonna be news. Yeah.
Um, they were buzzing with theories and eyewitness accounts. People were terrified. They were genuinely terrified. Like I said, people had different knowledge back in the day, and they attribute some things to escaped animals as well as to the devil himself. Um, so, speaking of the newspapers, I did find one um, that I'll read a little transcript for it for you. So, this is
Okay.
from Friday, February 16th, 1855, and it's from the Times London, Greater London, England.
Okay.
And it just says extraordinary occurrence. Considerable sensation has been caused in the towns. I'm going to butcher this names, maybe not too much. In the towns of Topsman, Limstone, Exmouth, Tinkmouth, and Dawlish in the south of Devon.
Okay.
Now, this were just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 towns. There's records from 30 to 40 towns that got
Oh
this
shit.
footprints. Yes.
So, like it really got around.
Yes. It continues by saying, in the consequence of the discovery of a vast number of foot tracks of a most strange and mysterious description, the superstitions go as far as to believe that they are the mark of Satan himself. And the great excitement has been produced among the classes may be judged from the fact that the subject has been descended on from the pu- pulpit. It appears that on Thursday night last, there was a very heavy fall of snow in the neighborhood of Exeter and the south of Devon. On the following morning, the inhabitants of the above towns were surprised at discovering the footmarks of some strange and mysterious animal, endowed with the power of ubiquity, as the footprints were to be seen in all kinds of unaccountable places on the tops of houses and narrow walls, in gardens and courtyards, enclosed by high walls and palings, as well as in the open fields. There was hardly a garden in Limpstone where these footprints were not observable. The tracks appeared more like that of a biped than a quadruped, and the steps were generally 8 inches in advance of each other. The impressions of the foot closely resembled that of a donkey shoe and measured from an inch and a half to, in some instances, 2.5 inches across. Here, here and there, it appears as if cloven, but in the generality of the steps, the shoe was continuous, and from the snow in the center remaining entire, merely showing the outer crest of the foot. It must have been convex. And then it
Wow.
ends up wrapping up by saying, the creature seems to have approached the doors of several houses and then have retreated, but no one has been able to discover the standing or resting point of this mysterious visitor. On Sunday last, the Reverend Mr. Mugsgrave alluded to the subject of his sermon and suggested the possibility of the footprints being those of a kangaroo.
No, don't tell me this is little. No. Oh my god.
So this reverend was really like, hey, welcome in everyone. Those footprints, they could have been a kangaroo's. Um
Oh my god.
It continues by saying, but this could scarcely have been the case as they were found on both sides of the estuary of X. Present, it remains a mystery, and many superstitious people in the above towns are actually afraid to go outside their doors at night.
Huh.
And that's the end of the newspaper clipping.
Dude, that was like in depth. They
Yeah,
really they
for like
really went through this.
1855, they were like,
Yes.
here's everything because everyone's going
Yes.
through it. Which I find fascinating that going back in time, there's so much documentation for such a strange case.
It could have been a kangaroo. What? Like that's
So the whole kangaroo theory, um, the Reverend ended up coming forward and saying that he made that up because
oh.
he was seeing the growing panic of people thinking it was the devil.
Oh.
So
He was just trying to be nice.
he
Okay.
was just trying to calm the people down from like thinking the devil was amongst them, which is normally the other way around. Um, anyway, there's what else? Yeah, the sermon that he was trying to calm people down. He said that it could have been an escaped kangaroo, which out of all the animals, why a kangaroo? Um, People also suggested that it could have been a badger, a rat, or even a bird.
What? Big ass
People,
bird.
yeah. Some even thought that it might have been a fox dragging its tail, creating like the hoof-like impression.
Okay.
Um,
I
but
don't
there's
really
problems with all this like animal theories.
yeah.
First of all, how could an animal, even a really determined one, climb up walls? How could it squeeze through the drain pipes and like just leave tracks on rooftops without like disturbing anyone at night?
Yeah.
So, one more detail that I think really adds to the mystery is the silence the night before. The silence
Hmm.
of the animals, like the dogs. The night that the hoof marks appeared, there was just silence from all local dogs. No barking, no howling,
Interesting.
nothing. It's one of those like movie scenes where you're like, "Do you hear that?" And they're like, "I don't hear anything." It's like very quiet, and it's like
Exactly.
exactly where camping and like you don't even hear crickets. Yeah. Um, so, like, even if the animal sense something was off, they didn't react the way you'd expect. Um, so, of course, like, this is unsettling, especially because we know, given those, like, traditions and beliefs about, like, animals being, like, sensitive to the supernatural,
Yeah.
like, you'd think that they'd, like, react to it in some sort of way. But it was, like, the complete opposite. Like, we don't wanna react to
Just
this.
nothing, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, in fear of it or whatever.
Yeah. Um, Another theory that I had to just go down a rabbit hole because I was like, 1855, explain. Um, there's the weather balloon theory,
What?
which
Tell me
I'm
more.
like, it's 2025 and we're still using weather balloons for excuses. This goes
Okay.
as far as 1855. The idea was that hot air balloons were drifting through the snowy night and it was dragging a horseshoe shaped grapple, which was like the anchor.
Oh,
And it was
and it
kind
was
of
like,
like
do,
bouncing,
do, do. Oh,
leaving the mark.
why do I kind of believe that?
Yeah, no, like at first you're like, okay, that makes sense. But then, like, here's the theory's biggest weakness: it can't really account for like the precision or like the specifics of the footprints. Like, how would a balloon be dragging like this anchor get inside walled in gardens?
This is true. Actually, yeah. And I'm also thinking of like if it's seen on roofs and stuff, because like it'll be on the footsteps will be on the ground and
Yeah,
then they go up to the roof.
yeah.
So
But
like
wouldn't you
wouldn't
hear it
the
hitting
line
the
yeah,
wall?
or like wouldn't the line of it itself like be like tangled up in the snow and
Yeah.
like yeah.
And like, what are the chances that like for the entire night the wind doesn't change?
Yeah. Like it's
Like it,
perfectly straight.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
once again, this is a big theory, but it has lots of weaknesses as well. Um, Another one that creative people put out there, and of course, 1855, people were using trying to find a scapegoat for the devil. Um, this is where the gypsy theory comes in.
Okay.
The gypsy theory suggests that the Romani people were actually using what are called measured stilts, and that those long stilts were used for measuring. Um, so they were like walking around on the stilts, creating the hoof-like prints, but there's no reason for their motivation.
No, there's
The
no
theory
point in that.
No, the theory just says that they might have been trying to scare off other groups of, like, gypsies, maybe, like, they were marking their territory, but like the previous one, this theory has a lot of, like, inconsistencies and big holes, to be honest. First off, there's little evidence that the Romani people actually used stilts this way during this time period, and second of all, the stilts that you need to create for this, like, hoof prints, would have been incredibly difficult to maneuver
Yeah.
because the footprints were found on rooftops. Um, you know, anyone walking on stilts is already having a hard time, and then you want to
How
get
are
them
they
to
getting
climb.
on the roofs? Like
Yeah,
what?
climb over a walled-in garden, the rooftop, across a river, and also 40 miles during a winter like storm.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Um,
what?
so yeah, like I can't imagine anyone navigating with stilts across rooftops during like the snow.
Me neither.
Yeah. So once again, the gypsy theory, it's just like an interesting theory and like social perspective that they had back in the day, but it doesn't add up logistically. Next, there's a theory that's a little bit more believable, and this one is the donkey theory.
Okay.
Because donkeys are actually a surprisingly good fit for some of the aspects of the mystery. Their hoof prints do bear a striking resemblance to the hoofs that they found. Um, Plus, donkeys have like this unique gait where they place their feet like in a near straight line when they walk. So it almost
Interesting.
looked, if you were to follow their footprints, it would almost look like it was just like a bipedal creature.
Okay.
Because donkeys have a very interesting style of walking.
I
Um,
didn't know that.
yeah.
That's cool.
So like that undeviating line we talked about earlier could just be like donkey's natural way of walking. But this obviously doesn't explain rooftop footprints,
Yeah. And on the
unless
walls
on the
and,
walls,
like
pipes, and so once again, it doesn't explain the strange locations where the footprints were found. Yeah, some of the correct characteristics like match, but that's all that there is. Um, there is another theory that offers a completely different perspective. And I think this is more of a recent theory. I don't think this is a theory that they had in like 1855, but it's the meteorological theory. Because what does the weather have to do with hoof prints? The theory just suggests that the hoof prints were actually formed by falling water blobs um, that freeze in a very particular way. And when they do, they create this hoof-like print shapes.
okay.
Yeah, they're trying to throw science in here, and I'm not
Yeah,
buying
that's,
it.
like, so specific.
No,
Like,
it's
how
like
is
they're
it that it wouldn't be that consistent and it
no,
couldn't do all that?
especially because
Mm,
it's just like a path. It's not like everywhere.
yeah.
So even if it's like giant frozen raindrops hitting the snow and just leaving those prints, it's definitely unusual. But apparently, there's been similar tracks reported in other parts of the world under very similar conditions for that snowy night. For example, there was some of those reports, similar hoof prints in Canada during a very cold winter as well.
Hmm,
So there's been other locations that have seen those footprints, but not to the extent of Devon. Um, but even with that theory and all the animal ones, there's the whole question of if that was the case, how come the animals were extremely quiet that night? A donkey or like a raindrop, like they also can't climb the walls.
mm-mm. There
Um,
would be reactions
yeah.
from the
Now,
animals and
the footprints were not just limited to Devon and Canada. There were some reports from Scotland and even Poland occurring around the same time during the Devon incident.
mm,
Which,
that's
once
weird.
again, is it the devil or is it something else?
No, okay, because my theory was
Yeah,
gonna be it's literally just some dude with a stick who's
40
playing a
miles
prank.
during the winter.
Who's just playing a prank on people. Like, he
Uh-huh.
has, like, a weird hoof or, like, a foot or something, and he's just making, like, footprints throughout. But then you're like, "Oh, he's Devon in Canada, but also in Scotland." So I'm like, "Okay, it can't be. It can't be just a
Yeah.
person doing this
No, no,
then."
it can't
So
be just the
what
person.
so what is this? What is going on?
Yeah. So
That
the
kinda
theories
debunks
is
my
that we got
theory.
donkeys, runaway kangaroos, hot air balloons, like the weather balloons, and now like a potential global phenomenon.
Okay, out of all of those, I think the weather balloon makes the most plausible sense, but it's still
Uh-huh.
not, like,
But what about
great,
like when it
you
stops at
know?
your door and then like they reappear in the back?
That's the thing, like, I don't know, like
And I'm also gonna share, like, those, like, sketches of what the footprints look like
okay.
because I'm like, "That's a weird anchor for, like, a weather balloon to have as well." It's weirdly shaped. But we actually haven't talked about the biggest theory of all. I mean,
Oh?
it's in the
Okay.
name, the devil.
Oh.
Were you
Yeah, I
expecting
guess you're
something
right.
else?
No, you're right, yeah. Mm,
Yeah, so it's in the name, the devil footprints, the devil hooves. It's just the most popular theory, and it's also the reason why it's called the devil footprint, the devil hoofs. It just reflects like the genuine fear that people had during the Victorian England period. I mean,
uh-huh.
people were terrified. They refused to leave their house after this happened. And especially given how much power religion had at the time, um, so much talk about like fear God and the devil, and then this footprints show up. It makes sense. People are
Mhm,
waking up, seeing this bizarre footprints and their garden, their rooftops with no logical explanation. And there's no internet for like a quick search. Also, this people were familiar with animal tracks. They were not, they lived in the countryside. They were used to seeing foxes and like birds and other animals leave their tracks
mhm.
behind.
Yeah.
So it's one of the reasons that they were also scared because they're like, "I've never seen this tracks," and they just
Yeah, this is
behave
new.
so there's
What
no
is
logic to
this?
them. Yeah. Um, so of course, people turned to what was familiar: folklore, superstition, um,
Religion,
religion, and because religion was very prominent during the time, the devil was also very, like,
of
engraved in their
course.
heads.
Yeah,
So it's not surprising that something unexplained happens,
and they made the
and while
jump
the
to that.
devil theory might not hold up scientifically, it just offers, like, a really fascinating window of how people saw things during that time. It's just, like, a reminder of, like, how beliefs shaped how people behave, and, like, how people
100%.
interpret the events around them and the world.
I mean, people still do, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So,
definitely. I'm glad not to this extent, but they still do. Um, and then, of course, it's just more questions than answers, of course, like always. I feel like that's what we end up with the paranormal, more questions than answers. Other animals that were mentioned in those theories were badgers, rats. They thought that maybe it was a rat that was just hopping in the snow, leaving behind those prints, which is I'm like, that's very creative, and I'm glad you had an imagination, but 40 miles for a rat?
yeah, no, that's crazy. Like in the cold, in the snow.
Yeah, at
Like,
that point, they're
yeah.
looking for somewhere warm to hide from the winter,
Mm-hmm.
not walk in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they don't usually like this animals don't tend to walk long like large distances and in straight lines like this. They
No, they
usually
don't.
like yeah. Um, so yeah, the puzzle still remains. Who's the culprit? We don't know. Um,
The
it's
devil.
the devil. It's the devil in disguise. It's just a mystery that still lives on. Um, it's like a blend of history and like mystery because it's just, hey, here's a lot of documented things that we have for you regarding this
Yeah.
case, but we also have nothing concrete to give you other than like things from people. Um, what else did I write down? Because okay, I'm gonna share it with you right now.
Okay.
Because this article is I send it to you on Discord. Um, is 84 pages.
Holy shit.
It's 84 pages of evidence that has been gathered throughout the years. If you start scrolling down, you're gonna see the map as first off.
Yeah.
Uh, the map is located on page 3, and that one
Yeah.
shows you the map of what towns were affected. And I'll put this on the website and on the Instagram as well. Um, it shows like the very linear path in the bottom right corner. It shows the
Yeah.
river. It shows, and then there's the appendix where the hoof marks were also there. Um, it covered a lot of ground. There's also the measurements of the footprints because they measured them um, on page 8, and it varies. And there's descriptions in Dalish. The spacing between the footprints was 12 inches, and the size was 3.5 to by 2.5, and those
Okay.
were like a donkey's hoof. Um,
Okay.
yeah, there's different location. It tells you the location, the size, if
Yeah,
they
I'm
had the
looking at him right
size.
now. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Um, and then eventually you can see some of the tracks on page 12. Um, which those are animal tracks for comparison to the devil's hoof mark. The devil hoof mark, they have deer tracks, cottontail hares, fox, badgers, and otters. Another theory was that it was an otter.
Okay. From what I'm looking, it kind of seems a lot of these are described as like a donkey's hoof or a donkey's shoe.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it would kind of make sense that it's a donkey, but then, like, how does it get on the walls? How does it get on the roofs
Yeah.
and stuff?
It
That's
doesn't
the
make
kicker. That's the
sense.
thing.
Like, even if there was someone trying to play a prank with their donkey while riding the donkey, it's like there's still the roofs. On page 24, there's a drawing of those tracks that appeared. Um, and this where tracks that they sketched out from south of Devon, and they literally just look like
It's
a
just a
donkey's
horseshoe.
hoof. Yeah, like a horseshoe. Page 32 has more images there. Um, more of the hoof marks. Um,
32.
yes,
Okay.
32. Very similar to like hoof marks, like a shoe.
Oh yeah, they're like normal. What?
Yeah. And then on page, I think 43, there's the variety. Still the hoof mark, but depending where you went, they drew it
Oh,
differently.
I see.
For some of them, there was finger looking things, toes.
Yeah.
For other ones, it was just the hoof mark. Page 44 also has more sketches there. Um, and I like how it says the name of the person that also like sketched them out. So they're
That's
like,
cool.
these are sketches from this person. These are sketches from this other person. Page 52 shows the distance between the prints. And then page 62 has more. Um, they're comparing it with a fox tracks, a badger's hinder foot, um, very similar shape. There's, like I said, 84 pages that I was like, I was not expecting this much
Yeah,
information.
that's crazy. It is so in depth.
Yeah, and
They
then
did so much
72
research into
shows
this.
mouse tracks. And it's like
Okay.
72 doesn't add up. Like mouse tracks don't add up even if they were like jumping in the snow.
Okay. Weird. I literally have no theories. Like I have no clue what it could be.
At this point, I'm just going to stick with the devil.
That makes the most sense. Like
Because, like sometimes the supernatural is what we go to when we can't find logic.
it is supernatural or like, religion in a way, and I guess this is kind of the mix of both right now.
Yeah. And like I
So,
said, this was not the first. I mean, I think it was like the first major one, but it was not the only location that had the
yeah,
devil's footprints.
that's
Um,
crazy. That's what really gets me too, because like I said, my theory is gonna be it's just some dude playing a prank,
yeah.
with like hoof marks or something. But could he be in all those places?
And it's like, surprise, surprise, there's other countries that are affected by this.
Yep. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So, and just 40 miles, I don't think I could walk 40 miles in a day. Um,
maybe,
let
maybe.
alone during like a storm.
Oh yeah, no, that would suck. And then doing that just for like a prank or just
Yeah.
like have fun or like nah,
And
I
I find
wouldn't
it
do that.
interesting that like the tracks like were not like fading, like snow had covered them. Like they were just very clear to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's the story of the Devil's Hoofprints. I am sorry it wasn't longer. Like
Oh,
I
that's
said, there's a
fine.
ton of pages, but it's a lot of repeat and it's a lot of theories.
Mm-hmm.
For the listeners, I'll put that on the website so you can actually take a look at it. I did my best to read through all of it, but it's so repetitive that I'm just like, it's all the same information.
Valid.
Yeah.
No, but
And of
that's
course,
interesting though.
other
I think it,
sources, other people talking about it.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I also had
No,
to look up what like weather balloons looked like in 1855. They're not fun looking
okay.
balloons.
Okay.
They're just intriguing.
Yeah. No, I like this case. It's really making me be like, what is that? What could that
Hmm.
be?
Yeah,
And I don't really do that much because I
got it.
typically have like some sort of explanation for
Yeah, of
something. But
course. And for this,
this one I just don't know.
animals make sense until you're like the rooftop and like closed in gardens that there's a high fence around.
Hmm.
The river that was frozen and didn't crack.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 40 miles. If that's like the bare minimum, it's still a lot of. Yeah, I just keep going back to the distance
What
because
do
I'm
you
just
think,
like,
listeners, viewers? Like, what theories have you got? What do you think it could be?
hold up. My drive to work is about 50 miles. I can't walk that in a day. I mean, I could, but definitely not during a storm.
like, no, it wouldn't be fun, and it would take the whole day,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. So
So,
someone was really committed to this hoax.
or it's the
Maybe
devil.
there's
Like,
it's
yeah,
the devil.
like
There was a
that's the
theory that it
only
was a monkey as
explanation.
well, but the monkey doesn't add up either
What? And also,
because they're
a
like,
monkey would not survive in the snow like
no.
that. I don't.
They said that the monkey broke out from a rich person's menagerie,
Oh my god! Of course it would.
but there's also no records of missing monkeys or kangaroos from anyone's private collection.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally don't know. I have no clue.
Fair. Yeah, no. And that's part of the mystery. So, listeners, what do you think? Was it the devil? Was it a
Or
donkey? Was it a hoax?
was it my dad? Where are you? I'm just
He's leaving footprints in the snow.
kidding.
Uh,
Anyway, this was a fun little episode for the
yeah.
first of 2025.
Episode 26.
Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for sticking around. We have some fun things coming
Yeah,
soon.
a lot.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, make sure to stay tuned in. We're gonna be doing some stuff. Make sure to share. Make
Yeah,
sure to get our word around about who we are here at Chambers of the Occult.
yeah. Word of
Um,
mouth really
and
helps.
it might come in handy in some future episodes. Who knows?
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of things we planned, a lot of things we did not plan are
yeah.
coming to fruition.
Also, we're recording this on Tuesday, January 14th. Tomorrow, we're gonna be flying out to Florida for Podfest.
Yeah, by the time you hear
Um,
this, we'll already be
we're
there.
already gonna be in Podfest. So if you're at Podfest, like let us know, and then like there's the meet and greets that are happening,
Yeah,
you
there
know.
is.
So
And we'll be
yeah,
there for most of it. Yeah, so reach out.
yeah.
Because that should be your New Year's resolution. Reach out
Reach
to
out to your
us.
favorite podcasters more.
If you reach out
Actually,
one time, that's
to
more than
any
last year.
podcaster more. Yeah, that's one more than last year. Yeah.
um, any message that you want to give your future self, Kai? That like if you
Um,
listen to this episode on Thursday,
hang in there. You'll be home soon.
like you already want to
um,
leave.
it's okay that you're in Florida. I know it's probably hot and humid,
It's cold.
and I did see
Have you?
it's
Okay,
gonna rain, and
I did see that as well.
it's gonna be like moderate, so it shouldn't actually be too bad. But
Yeah, yeah,
um, it'll be fun. You'll have fun. I
cool.
am gonna have fun. So
Yeah, yeah. Future message to myself, Jay. If you're listening to this, good. You got the episode out in time, first of all. Kudos to you. Second of all, have fun. Um, I would say let me know how it was, but you're already knowing how it is.
because you're me.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, message from the past to the future. Enjoy that time off and enjoy that trip to Florida.
Time off is gonna be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And
Well, I think
socialize,
that's the
network.
episode.
That
Cool.
wraps it up. And like always,
Wrap it up.
we'll see you next time. Smurf.
Ah! Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chambers of the Occult. For photos, sources, and anything else mentioned during the episode, check out our website at chambersoftheoccult.com. You'll find everything you need there if you do find yourself wanting more. You can also follow us on all of our socials at Chambers of the Occult and on Twitter at COTO Podcast. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, personal anecdotes, or concerns, let us know. Fill out our contact form on our website, email us at chambersoftheoccult@gmail.com, or leave us a message on our socials. We would love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed what you heard, we would greatly appreciate it if you could drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. It is absolutely the best way to show your support, and it would mean the world. Until next time.